Hello, I'm Jake Boudrot, Civic Journalist at Tell Community Television. This week, on The Record, Richmond Municipal Council's Committee of the Whole took place on February 11th in Arichat. And after the meeting, I spoke with Deputy Warden Brent Sampson and Warden Lois Landry. The MLA for Inverness gets settled into his new role. But first, work is planned for Pondville Beach Provincial Park. With me today is the MLA for Richmond and the Minister of Energy. Welcome back, Trevor Boudrot.
Thanks for having me, Jake. It's a pleasure.
So recently, Bill Nova Scotia gave public notice that an application was made to the Federal Minister of Transport to do rock reinforcement on the pier at Pondville Beach Provincial Park, and they're seeking public input as part of that notice. So I'm assuming this is part of the process of doing the rock reinforcement out at the wharf at the beach.
That's correct, right? So a good news story, obviously, for Pondville and for the residents in Richmond County, and really excited that this work is kind of being, taking shape, right? I think they're in the design phase and work through that, and now it's kind of moving on to, getting the permits and the approvals where required.
So with this this kind of public input phase, how long does that last, and what happens after this phase?
I'm not sure on the full timeline, but basically, they put this application to Transport Canada, then Transport Canada opens it up for that public discussion, and when they're done, there's also kind of the regulatory permitting process with Fisheries and Oceans and Transport Canada as well. So there is a bit of that's why you're seeing it now, is because the idea is to get it approved to be able to do the work in a timely fashion.
Moving the parking lot from where it is right now to Gibbs Lane, do you expect that that's going to continue or take place in the spring after there was a interruption there last year?
Yeah, what I would say is, I think that's now in that process where that can get done. So it's kind of splitting the two of them up into two different projects, right? One is the parking lot and the change rooms and the bathrooms, and then the other project is stabilizing that wharf. So my expectation is, now that process is complete, that the work on the parking lot and the change rooms will begin, relatively soon. I mean, not in the weather we're having today, but this summer kind of thing, and then and as well, once the permitting is done for the wharf, then that will move as well.
Getting back to the wharf, now, as you know, that's a pretty important thing because the wharf provides a protection to the beach. So it of all the things really that could be done at the beach, that's probably one of the more important things. The erosion protection aspect of it, I guess.
I think you and I both know that when we had that community meeting, that this was something that was raised, right? That wharf certainly does protect the that beach, and obviously we want to preserve that beach. We want to make sure that we still have that beautiful landscape and natural resource that we all love in Richmond County, and that we want to share with tourists as well. So
as far as other work that's supposed to take place, I know there was some wishes to have some boardwalk replacement and other things like some other shoreline protection. I assume that's stuff is going to have to kind of wait until this work is done and the parking lot's moved and type of thing, before you can really do the shoreline protection. The parking lot's going to have to be moved first, and things like that.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing here is kind of the first two projects, right? And I think these were identified as ones that needed to be done, and so really happy that we're seeing movement on that front. I think the conversations will continue in terms of what else is needed, and it'll be a good time to do that once we have the parking lot and the change rooms done, and then we see how those dunes kind of continue to do what they're doing as well, because there's a process of allowing those dunes to kind of live their best life too. That it's an important ecological part of the beach, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned it. It is definitely a good news story for the people here and in the entire region. Yeah, the beach had, I guess, for lack of a better term, been kind of neglected for quite a while. Predates your time in office for sure. And it's good to see something happening. There was a committee formed, and there was outreach to various levels of government, including yourself and municipal officials and federal officials. So this is kind of the culmination of a lot of work done by people and the community. So definitely good news story.
And a long time coming, Jake, right? I mean, one of the first meetings I had was at La Guillette with that group, and we talked about, the challenges, and then we took a drive down, and there happened to be somebody from Natural Resources there that was looking at it was perfect timing, right? It was almost like I had timed it, Jake, but this is an important piece of infrastructure for the province and for Richmond County. And so, I can't say enough about the good work that the department is trying to do here, and they've invested in this project, and really pleased to see it kind of shaping. So this is a good news story. It's progress is happening on a number of fronts there, and looking forward to seeing the final result of both of these projects.
Now, I usually have this question, or usually comes up when I speak with your federal counterpart, Brent Council MP Mike Kellaway. Usually he tends to tease future announcements or things like that. So I guess I'll give you the opportunity. Do you foresee some future announcements coming up? Not in regards to Pondville, but other things that are going to be happening in the area?
There was a number of there's a number of things I think you're going to be seeing developed in the community over the next little while that the province has supported. Some of those would be, well known to the communities themselves, but they were never really officially announced. And so I say, stay tuned on some of those. And obviously, I'm in conversations with organizations all the time about projects and vision for the community in the region. And so always happy to be a part of that. And, stay tuned is what I would say.
Yeah, it's probably one of the better aspects of the job that you're able to make these announcements that people want. I know I was in contact with the administration at St. Anne, and I know that there's been some movement on things there, and they expect that they're hoping soon there's going to be some kind of an announcement there. I'm sure you can't get too specific, but I'm assuming that you agree that there's probably going to be something coming up there soon.
What I would say is, Jake, we're in constant communication with all potential projects. That project was one that was announced by our government a number of years ago, and really looking forward to seeing it come to fruition. So yeah, that's all I'll say on this one right now.
That's another one that falls under the stay tuned file folder, I guess.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, no problem at all. No, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. It's great to be able to give some good news to the community, especially about Pondville, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you, and thank you for sharing that news for us, Jake. We appreciate it.
During the Committee of the Whole of Richmond Municipal Council, Deputy Warden Brent Sampson introduced the idea of property assessment caps on homes destroyed by fire or other disasters.
First, I wanted to commend the province on the recent decision to maintain the property assessment cap on those affected by the wildfires in both Tantallon and Shelburne in 2023. So second, I'd like to have council consider asking if that same idea could be extended to add those Nova Scotians who lose their homes to disaster. The initiative that was brought forward will allow residents to rebuild their homes after disaster without incurring sudden large increases in their property taxes. I feel this is only fair because those building new homes are doing it out of necessity and should not be financially punished for it. Over the last few years, we've seen several tragic events within our own county, fires as well as storms that have caused the loss of homes. So I'd like to see this extend to anyone needing to rebuild after the loss due to fire or other disaster. So as I said, I attached a link in there which had an article with a little bit of the details of it. That being said, I move that we ask the Warden to draft a letter to the Provincial Department of Municipal Affairs asking for this change, and as well include our local NSFM representatives, Amanda Mumberkett and John Dunbar, to be made aware and advocate on our behalf.
Thank you for that, Deputy Warden Sampson. Do we have a seconder on that motion? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Can it be retro to 2022?
Yeah. Yeah, great initiative, and this certainly was brought to light after the fires, the wildfires. So great initiative. Happy to support myself. So all those hearing no discussion on the matter, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor of the motion that the Warden draft a letter to on this matter and include our NSFM representatives. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
So I was going to ask you about the capping assessments on homes destroyed by fire or extreme weather. And do you see this something that's compassionate but also reasonable at the same time to do such a thing?
Exactly, I definitely do. I saw this come out from the province where I believe the previous MLA and the current MLA had both kind of advocated for this, especially around the Tantallon area. You ended up with a lot of people who lost homes in the devastating fires in 2023, both in Tantallon and Shelburne. The province decided that, so I could back up for a second here. When you would have to rebuild, when you'd pull a building permit, if you were under the capped assessment program, which many people are, you would lose that cap. So as soon as you'd have to rebuild your house, you could end up in a situation where maybe your assessment suddenly doubles. I mean, your assessment would stay the same, but your taxes may double based on losing the fact that you're under the cap. So what I was hoping to do is extend that to other people who lose their house due to fire or other type of disaster. Because really, I think the province is not going to, benefit financially from it. It would be municipalities that would benefit from basically somebody's misfortune. And I don't know that I don't know that we want to go down that road. I mean, I think it's not often that it happens. Most times it's one here and there. But honestly, these people are going through a terrible enough time that we don't need to be adding anything to their plate.
In community acknowledgements, the Deputy Warden noted that Charlie Martel was named the municipality's Volunteer of the Month for his efforts getting a home rebuilt in Lordways.
We have a volunteer of the month every month, and so I'm really excited to share this one with folks. So I'll share it, and then it's a District 5 resident, and so I'll maybe throw it back over to Deputy Warden Sampson after I formally read this for the record. Charlie Martel is January 2025 Volunteer of the Month. Charlie Martel is a catalyst of change for his community. Through his generosity, leadership, and vision, he donated his time and supplies to help support a community initiative that brought together numerous volunteer efforts in Richmond County. On December 29th, 2024, a longtime Lardois community member lost their home to a devastating fire. Without hesitation, Charlie stepped forward, offering support to help rebuild. His efforts inspired local contractors, community members, and business owners to come together to make this new home a reality. Charlie's ability to unite others in a time of need did not go unnoticed, and he is a true community champion. Please join us in recognizing Charlie for his hard work, dedication, and commitment to this community. We thank you for all you do for Richmond County. And if you are somebody on social media and you get an opportunity to follow the story that's unfolding on Facebook, it really is something. So I'll throw it over to Deputy Warden if you have any additional thoughts.
That's well said. No, it's been an inspiring story, I think, for everybody around. It's been a nice sort of good news story to get us through the winter. Something that started out as a negative, turned around quite quickly. And I really want to commend Charlie on bringing people together for this. And I spoke to him for a few minutes today, actually, and he said they're anticipating that should be pretty well done, hopefully maybe late next week, which is pretty amazing considering the fire was December 29th.
Now, as far as the Volunteer of the Month, is Charlie Martel of Lordways, for helping build that, rebuild the home. How proud of the community are you? Because I know Charlie played a big role in it, but there was a lot of businesses and residents and other people who really stepped forward too in the area.
There was, and I'll tell you, a couple of weeks ago being there one day, there had to have been a dozen people there all day Saturday. They just took their day and contributed what they could. And it's pretty heartwarming to see. I know that's said a lot, but I got to commend Charlie on stepping up right away, like immediately that day of the fire. And he lit a fire under people within the community, I think. And it's been something a lot of people have been talking about on a regular basis, and everybody's sort of proud to see this happen within the community.
An application from the Coastal Riders ATV Club for a Type 4 grant in the amount of $3,050 was reviewed by council.
Yeah, okay, so we'll move on to the next one, which is Coastal Riders ATV Type 4, and there are several ATV groups. I believe this is the one, am I right, that is in District 5? Yeah. And I do want councillors to know that I've had conversations with Councillor Mumbercat about her ability to contribute to whatever. So this application is 275 to 286. So if you have something to, oh, sorry, right. So they are requesting Type 4 Regional Health General Grant Funds in the amount of $3,050, and that is the exact amount on the quote. Minus HST, are they eligible to?
I'm not sure
Yeah.
what they're asking for is the amount before HST.
Before HST, okay. Would this be eligible for the GST holiday? Is this, no, this wouldn't fall into that category.
Doesn't speak of HST on type 4. It says max 10,000 per application.
It may very well be that they have a funding source to be able to return that money. So for whatever reason, they've made the request to $3,050.
So I'd move that we support this. Now, I'm also willing to, within that, I'd like to support it to the 3,050, 500 coming from the District 5 fund. And I would like to know if you were copied on that. Was it 500 or, okay. Trying to find the email here, but I know Councillor Mumbercat sent me something this afternoon.
I thought she said she had no district funds.
She thought she didn't, but
Oh, did she say something?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I know I sent,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, okay. She did send me something this afternoon, a little after 2 o'clock. She would be willing to support the Coastal Riders ATV request with 500 from the District 4 fund. So that would bring it up to 1,000, so it would be 2,050 coming out of the regional funds, which would be my motion. 500 from District 4.
Yes, and to be clear, Councillor Marchand's, Councillor Mumbercat's emails to me would have been before that. So there's a motion on the floor, 500 from District 4, 500 from District 5, with the balance of 2,050 coming from regional funds. That's the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries.
So the Coastal Riders ATV Club made an application for a Type 4 grant in the amount of $3,050 that was sent to you guys. And maybe you can explain, first of all, what that grant is for.
Yeah, so what it was the group was looking to get themselves a dump trailer for basically trail maintenance, especially when you get into situations where they get into some areas where they can't get sort of larger heavy equipment in. This way they could haul, say, gravel or, maybe haul debris out. So they wanted a trailer that would function as a dump trailer and be able to get throughout the trail system, that the club would own themselves and be able to utilize as much as possible. So I think it was something that council was pretty supportive of. I didn't get the sense, anybody had much issue with it, especially considering our municipal trail strategy we did in the last few years. We're kind of excited, I think, to see more and more trail development all the time.
And this club is located in your district, is it not? And kind of deals with the trails around in your area?
Yeah, it's at a Lord Ways, although there's some people from a little farther out, but they do deal with a lot of the eastern end of the county, I would say.
Council next discussed a $20,000 Type 4 grant request from the Isle Madame Boat Club.
Okay, next is the Interim Director of Finance, Kathleen Jeffrey, regarding the Isle Madame Boat Club for Type 4 Regional Health Grant Funds in the amount of $20,000. That is page 287 to 300. Throw that out for discussion.
Yeah, for me, Madam Warden, when you're looking at their ask of 20,000, it's very similar to the Loisdale Lions Club in the waterfront project there, and they're asking for 20,000 to leverage 1.2 million. So, and the boat club and community economic development fund and community facility improvement fund and a COA are all getting on board, and they need the 5 streams of funding to get the rest of this funding. So I'm willing. I think looking at our strategic plan and the waterfront development allocation funding that we put aside every year, I think there is $10,000 left in that fund. And so I don't know if this is a time-sensitive issue to where we can maybe look at carrying this over to our next fiscal year, and 10 here and 10 next fiscal. So I'm not sure if you were talking to them, Madam Warden, if this is time sensitive or not.
So, yeah, I have been in conversations with the boat club and connected them with our development officer. And I believe they are cognizant of the fact that they were coming up against the end of fiscal year, and that they are mindful of the fact that it is the end of the year. I think the sooner the better, but they are mindful of the fact that, they've applied late in the fiscal. So I think they would be, I think the reality is so there are funds set aside for waterfront development, which seems to me to be a perfect place for this, but there is only $10,000 in that budget. So the opportunity to be considered for $10,000, to push the second $10,000 to the next fiscal year, I think whether they are okay with that or not, the reality is that that's where we are. So do we want to have a motion?
Yeah, so I will make that motion that we fund the $10,000 out of the waterfront development fund, the $10,000 remaining in our fiscal 2024-2025, and also add the $10,000 to fill in the defer the other 10,000. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So defer the other 10,000 to our 2025-2026 budget deliberations. Thank you.
So the motion on the floor is to provide $10,000, the remaining $10,000 from the Waterfront Development Fund, and to refer the additional $10,000 to complete this ask to budget deliberations. Is that?
Madam Chair, I think for cleanliness of this, it's to approve the 20,000 with 10,000 to be paid out of this year's fiscal and 10,000 to be paid out of the 25-26 budget, which if you make the decision today, it goes into our budget deliberations already decided and allocated so that you're committed to those. And that's how that's been done in the past.
So so are we confident that we have this money next year?
Yeah, just so I'm clear, if what you're meaning by that, CAO, so the first 10 now, the second 10 would automatically go in, and whether come budget time, regardless of how much we decide to fund that next year, it will be funded at a minimum of 10. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we could decide to not fund it anymore. We could decide to fund it as we normally have, which I suspect is probably the case, but it would be that we're deciding right now.
Normally, next year 290 because 10's already called for.
Yeah, okay.
So I apologize, I led you astray there, Councillor Sampson. So we don't have a seconder yet, so we'll go back to what you had intended to say. So you had talked about fund $10,000 from the Waterfront Development Fund in this fiscal year, and 20,000 to, the rest of the 20, so 10 to come out of next year's fiscal. Okay, so that's the motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder so that we can continue discussion? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. So now we have some conversation, and I'll turn it over to the CAO.
Madam Chair, if I may ask, is this intended to come out of our CCBF waterfront money? Because if so, contingent to that motion, it has to be CCBF eligible. and meet that criteria, right? Okay, just so long as we're clear.
Tourism and recreation.
Yeah, and I believe that that was the conversations I had with them. They were aware of that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of tentacles to that. Councillor Marchand,
Yeah. So as with your grant, like they applied under grant type 4 for that CCBF, is there a different application process for that?
The waterfront development,
Yeah.
The CCBF is where that money is coming from, but it's, the grant type he's referring to is under the waterfront development fund that we allocate every year. It's kind of a separate one, but yeah, just this application fits that perfectly.
but there's no actual application form. That they filled out the right form, is my understanding, and we can allocate it from the fund. So, Councillor,
I don't get the impression that that's the right form, but I don't know if there's a different form. If this says grant type 4.
no, in this case, there isn't.
They could just send a regular letter asking for money out of that. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, it's okay, it's not really done in the right form, just like yours wasn't.
I don't think they actually have a different form. And this application form is the application they also submitted to ACOA and to other agencies. So it's not like they went to, created all this work for this one. Okay, so there is a motion on the floor, and I'll review that because I caused some confusion, to fund $10,000 from the Waterfront Development Fund and to refer the second $10,000 to the next fiscal. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries.
Now, as far as the Almadam Boat Club application for a Type 4 grant in the amount of $20,000, there seems to be agreement that the grant is worthy of being funded. It just seems like you guys are kind of caught between in a budget period.
Yeah.
First of all, what is that grant for? And second of all, maybe you can comment on or talk about the support that there appears to be around the council.
Sure. So it is unusual for us to give large amounts of money to, a community group. So, if somebody needs a roof, we might contribute $5,000. So we get this ask every once in a while for these bigger projects. And they come from, it's a part of our grant policy, but there is a bucket of money that if you are eligible, you can apply for it through the CCBF, which is really just the gas tax, right? We refer to that. So municipalities get some money. There's very specific criteria that we can use it for. So it's been sitting over there and it has $10,000 left in its allocation, and the request was for 20. So the difference between 10 and 20 can sometimes mean how much they can apply for other groups. So back a year ago, I would say, we had previous council had a presentation from Tommy Sampson from the Lion's Den. And that request was for 20,000 and it fit under the criteria for that CCBF funding. And they got 20,000 and they turned that into almost $1 million for a project that got funding from other levels of government. So sometimes you have to show that you have funding at one source and to be able to leverage like way more money over here. So we have $10,000 in this fiscal budget, and assuming it is eligible under that criteria, what we've said is we're happy to pull 10,000 out of that budget next year to make the combined 20,000. Just has to sort of straddle the two fiscal years.
And what is that for? What kind of work are they doing there at the boat
Yeah,
club?
and so the kind of work that they're doing is actually multiple projects as part of an umbrella kind of project. So they have some environmental concerns or climate change concerns. So they want to see one of the roads raised to address, just sort of climate issues around shoreline. They have a clubhouse that they want to expand. They currently have no berths left to expand expand. So every spot is accounted for, but they have more people who want to dock. So an additional opportunity for more berths. And then they have some really creative thinking about a berth that would allow visitors to come in, potentially smaller cruise ships and dredging, and there's many parts. So ironically, the 20,000, I'd be happy if they did it with this part, that part, this part, because there's so many parts. And I would actually encourage anybody who's got a minute or two, that the explanation of it is in the meeting package on our website. And it really is an ambitious undertaking, but it just touches on so many, it checks a lot of boxes, right? It's tourism, it's, lots of activity, it's economic development, it lures people here. So if you're a boater, this is a great place to live because we have these facilities. But even those of us who live here and have lived here forever, just to be able to launch your boat and to be able to enjoy all that the ocean provides for us. So it's a big project, and I wish them nothing but the best.
Finally, Council denied a $5,000 Type 1 infrastructure grant application from the Whiteside Church Preservation Society.
Unfinished business. So this is an item that carried over from council meeting a few weeks ago. Can I ask Councillor Marchand to get us up to speed on this one?
Yeah, so they had initially applied under the infrastructure, but since they didn't own it, I had asked to delay it for a bit, and I spoke to them, and they reapplied under the Type 4 General for that $5,000 amount. So I think the new application was emailed to everyone, because what's in the package is the old one. So I'll make a motion that we approve this, but since there's probably only 10,000 left in the Type 4, I can take, and I don't mind taking $2,000 out of the district funds for District 3, and then take 3,000 out of the general, just in case there's, out of the, I guess the 37,000, just in case there's other applications that come forward. So I'll make a motion that we take 2,000 out of the District 3 funds and 3,000 out of, I guess, the 37,000 or whatever you call them, the general funds.
So the application is being resubmitted under Type 4 Regional. And so the motion from Councillor Marchand is to take $2,000 out of District 3 funds, with the remaining $3,000 coming out of regional funds. So that's the motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a seconder. Do we have any discussion on that motion?
The only thing I want to say is that we should keep an eye, because the sheet that we got today, there's to be less than, I guess, 10 to be, with this 3 to be, 7,000 to 8,000 left in the general fund, so we should keep an eye on that.
So it was on 13,000 in it when we started.
Yeah, and we took 2,050 from it, and now 3,000, so be down to 8, 9, So just, keep everybody up to speed on that.
And I have a concern just that we are revisiting our grants policy. And so in our upcoming grants policy that we are hoping to get through so that it is in place for the next fiscal year, April 1st and beyond. But we are bound by the kind of policy and practices and the exceptions we have made to policy and the decisions we've made around policy regardless. And I feel like decisions around church and church properties have come exclusively out of district funds. So I will not be able to support that motion, because I feel like, even though I wasn't part of council, it's not consistent with previous decisions, acknowledging that we are making changes forward, but we're in this fiscal year abiding by this policy. So I'm fine with the 2,000, but not the additional 3. So that's how I'll be voting on the motion. I would vote no, but I am open to an amendment. So, Councillor Sampson? Just Councillor Sampson, I think his light is on.
Yeah, so that's exactly the direction I was going to take, Madam Warden. And again, going forward with our new grants policy and some amendments we're going to make to those policies, I have no problems with that. But in the past, you know, it's been the norm that we would just simply go district funds and invest our district funds into our local churches and not into our regional funds. So I will be voting that way as well.
The thing with this grant application, they're not applying under infrastructure like some of those others. Whether it's a church or not, they don't have to show ownership here. So, you know, to say you're not supporting it because of it being a church, I made them apply a different way. I realize we haven't been following the policy anyway all along, so to kind of make the statement now because it is a church, I mean, they applied under how I think there's no restrictions of ownership. So that's why I made them apply this way. I didn't realize that the same was going to be, you know, they were going to be treated in the way how other churches were treated, I guess.
Councillor or Deputy Warden Sampson.
Yeah, and I can understand both sides of this. I think it's up to you, Councillor Marshall, if it may be a time to consider if you want to make an amendment to that or not. But, yeah.
I guess if it's not going to pass, I may as well make an amendment. But again, we violated this policy so many other ways. I thought going to type 4 was definitely ownership is not there anymore. You know, they don't have to show that they own it. We're giving money to organizations, they don't show ownership. They don't have registry of joint stocks. We got an income statement from a Legion that showed that they had all kinds of money. If the policy that says you fund on need, we violated that. So I didn't look at this as how other ones came in. You know, we funded a roof that was clearly infrastructure under a general, you know. So if it's not going to pass, if it doesn't pass, I will make the amendment. I'll make a new motion to do it under, or can I?
Well,
I'm just wondering.
Motion, we would vote on the amendment and then vote on the motion because it's on the floor. We would have to vote on it and vote it down. There's no way to withdraw it.
What I'll do, I'll make an amendment that we take the 2,000 from the district fund for this, and I'll renege the 3,000 out of the type 4.
Okay, so the amendment is 2,000 from district funds and nothing from regional. Can I have a seconder to amend as such?
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Is there any discussion on that motion? I will just say that there is a difference between violating policy and exceptions to policy. And I think there have been exceptions to policy, and those exceptions to policy should be consistent. So that's just my take on wording. You can argue the semantics.
District funds don't follow any different rules than the general. So giving district funds for someone that doesn't own is no different than giving. It's money. The district funds follow the same rules that are here. There's nothing here that states that the district funds, you can just do whatever you want with them. So, you know, it's not violating, it's not, you know, not following rules. Whether you're violating or making an exception, you're violating it. If we're going to make changes or exceptions, we need, and I think it was stated there, that you have to amend that policy, the grant policy, and we are doing that now.
So there's a motion to amend, and that motion to amend changes the motion so that it is $2,000 exclusively from district funds. Any other discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Is there any additional discussion on the $2,000 from district fund? Hearing none, I'll put that motion now, which is amended to be the $2,000, to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Now, as far as the grant application for the Whiteside Church Preservation Society, you didn't support that. It's not a matter of the ownership question now. It's more of what grant stream that the application was under. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, so We have acknowledged around the table that our grants policy needs some work, and that there are times where it's inconsistent over here or it's unclear over here. The problem is, and so we're working super hard. We had a 3-hour-long meeting last week. We had an hour-long meeting. We had another 3-hour. We're working really hard to make sure that we have a revamped policy with the additional attachments and all the application forms ready for April 1st. So it's seamless. Community groups would apply under a new policy with a new application form, no delay. We're really, really concerned about that. But the fact is, we have current policy that we are working under now. And there is some type 4 versus type 1 kind of conversations, but ultimately, whether they have been 1 or 4, Council has made some exceptions to policy, but we do, and that's within the purview of Council. I've said this before, but they should be consistent. So Councillor Sampson, and there was another issue in District 5, I'm pretty sure going back to November of 2023, where district funds were allocated and it didn't match the exact amount requested. And to be clear, when somebody submits an application for funds, it doesn't mean they're going to be granted. So we're not bound by an application. But I think in order to be consistent with other exceptions to policy we've made, or whether it's an exception to policy or not, the theme of the decisions we've made around churches and facilities, I think that needs to be consistent.
With me is the MLA for Inverness. Welcome back, Kyle MacQuarrie.
Thanks, Jake. It's nice to be here.
So I know we haven't spoken since the election, and you won with 57.6% of the votes, and you received 4,058 votes, and that was first time running provincially. So I guess, I'd like to get your reaction to, I know it was a little while ago, but I'm sure you remember and are able to recall your reaction to getting such a pretty strong endorsement from the people of Inverness.
Certainly a very humbling experience, and I'm honored that people voted for my name on the ballot. I give a lot of credit to the good government that the Premier has and the rest of his team have provided over the past few years, and also to the amazing work that Alan McMaster has done over the years. And so I hope that I can continue, and I'm going to work really hard to make sure that the people of Inverness County are just as supported as they have been over the past number of years.
Now, what was your reaction to your party, the Progressive Conservatives, receiving such a ringing endorsement with a very historic supermajority?
Well, I mean, I know, like, I felt, they had such a strong showing for the past 3 years. People see a difference in their lives in healthcare, not just healthcare, housing, and I think that it's the number is surprising historically, but I think that having such a strong showing is really a testament to the effective and productive government that they've had. So
I know this is your first time as MLA. So how are you settling into the role as the member of the Legislative Assembly for the riding of Inverness?
Well, it's very busy, and there's a lot of people. I'm making contact with a lot of people, and they're making contact with me. There's a lot of community groups, a lot of individuals, and I really want to do my best, work overtime, and get to know people better, get to know what they need, what their goals are, and really give them a lot of support.
So since you were elected in November, what have you been up to? I assume at first it was a matter of getting acquainted and sorted out, and then I guess gradually kind of settling into the role of MLA.
I've been really lucky to have a lot of support. Alan has been very supportive, lots of advice. Trevor Boudrot, he's in the next riding. He's given me lots of support. The PC team, they've been very supportive, and the people in Inverness County have been very supportive. They communicate well with me. Even during the campaign, everyone was so kind and gracious and polite, positive. Even if they maybe were voting for someone else, they still had that hospitality that we're famous for in Nova Scotia and Inverness County.
So in an announcement by Premier Tim Houston on December 19th, you were named the Ministerial Assistant for Natural Resources as well as Gaelic Affairs. So what does this role entail?
Right now, a lot of listening, a lot of learning. There's the ministers that I'm working with, they're incredible, and I'm involved with especially on Teams meetings online, learning a lot about how the departments work, the concerns that get brought forward, and how to solve a lot of the issues that are ongoing right now.
I know in covering some of the different issues in the riding, there seem to be a number of projects, I would imagine, on your plate right now. What are some of the more significant major projects right now that you have on your plate?
There's big issues and big ideas, but to me, the individuals that come into my office or email or call, and they need help because they have something going on in their life they find not manageable. And, when I can reach out with them and assist them to contact a government program or a community group, and they can get the help that they need at that time. And sometimes they come in and they feel like they have almost a hopeless situation. They leave the office, but they can, they have an answer and they have some support, and then they can tackle the problem they have.
So it sounds like you're really dealing with issues on the local constituency level right now. Since being elected, and those seem to be the top of the priority list, I guess.
Yes, and when I was during the election, that's what I said I would do, and that continues to be my priority. I love Inverness County, love all the communities, and I love the people, and they're good people, and they have lots of great ideas, lots of great work ethic. We have all kinds of potential, and that's my focus. Yes.
Now I know recently there was a wind energy project, Rodina in Inverness County, that was approved, and I did speak with the Minister of Energy at the time, Trevor Boudrot, about that, and I just wanted to get your reaction to it. How do you see such a project as far as your riding goes and its future?
I think all over the province, wind energy is becoming more important. We have a goal to get off coal before 2030, and the wind projects are a big part of that.
I know that you have current employers and economic stimulators like Cabot Gulf, for instance, in Inverness, which is continuing to operate and get a lot of attention, a lot of word of mouth, and positive reviews of the two courses that are there. And I know that's been a real economic driver, especially in the Inverness area. And it seems like that's got a pretty solid future and is going to continue to provide some economic benefits in your riding as well.
Yeah, I think you can see the benefits as you drive through Inverness. They have a lot of big small business community there now. You can walk down the streets and do all your Christmas shopping. As you walk down the street, it's been an incredible opportunity for the community, and they've really taken advantage of it with an entrepreneurial spirit and built up a real, it's just an excellent small business community around that.
In healthcare, I know some gains have been made by your party and your government. Some challenges still remain, and one of them at the top of mind would be emergency rooms. And I know that the hospital in Inverness continues to be well used. People in this area here where I'm in surrounding areas have been directed there because of closures or service interruptions in some of the smaller emergency departments. How is the hospital there doing right now? What's the situation, and are they able to provide a sufficient level of service, do you think, in your opinion?
Well, there's a lot of people there working really hard, and they have a real positive spirit about helping people they know. They know the people coming in the door, and they really care about everyone, and it's hard work, and we're going to support them. We're going to continue to make improvements in healthcare, and people have seen the difference, and they're going to see more difference.
Now, in covering Port Hawkesbury Town Council, I know that they had expressed a wish to meet with you and speak with you about some issues of relevance to the to Port Hawkesbury. Have you been able to meet with them and get a sense of what they're looking for from your government and from you as the MLA?
Yeah, meeting with the both the municipalities was a priority for me, and I've already met with both of them, in communication with them, and you know, they do excellent work, and you know, at the meeting there was a real spirit of working together and you know, supporting each other, and that will continue.
I did leave out the municipality, the county of Inverness, when I was referring to that too. So I suppose I know I get the sense in Port Hawkesbury a lot of the issues seem to surround growth and economic development and things like that. And I'm supposing that in the municipality the issues are slightly different, but there's probably a lot of commonality among some of their concerns and some of their priorities. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the people that they have in both municipalities, the elected officials and the employees both. They're working really hard. They're very intelligent people there, and I think the people in the municipalities are in good hands, and they're looking forward. And growth is it's difficult to manage. I think we have the right people doing it. And the other thing about growth is that it is a real opportunity. And what I see happening is that both municipalities are managing these opportunities very, very well.
Now, it's hard to predict what's going to come up in the future, but I assume you have some priorities and some issues that are going to be coming up in the next little while that you're going to be working on. And what do you see as some of those priorities on your agenda in the coming weeks and months?
For me, the big priority for me right now is being in touch with people. And you know, I've had lots of meetings, met with the municipalities. I want to continue meeting with healthcare and education professionals, and just really being in touch with the area, with the community, hearing their ideas, supporting them.
Well, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to speak with me and our viewers about these important topics. Thank you very much, Kyle.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jake. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for watching. Please tune in again to find out what we will be talking about on The Record.